The medieval city of Prague is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Europe, and we are quite proud that we can call this city home. The city of Hundred Spires has so much to offer to all visitors in terms of architecture and culture that travelers from all around the world often plan their Europe itineraries around the visit to Prague. The word about Prague's beauty resonates even in the parts of the world where we would not have expected it. Although the Czech Republic is the first world country in the Central Europe, or at least we like to think it, many people still do not know what to expect when traveling here for the very first time, especially when they've never been to Europe before. When walking around the streets of Lesser Town, the most picturesque quarter of Prague, you should not miss the chance to see Waldstein Palace and its garden. The complex is one of the most prominent buildings of the Czech early Baroque period. Today, Waldstein Palace is the seat of the Senate of the Czech Republic. The garden has become a pleasant place for relaxation for locals and a venue for cultural events hosted by the Senate. The complex also includes the Waldstein Riding School, which nowadays hosts some of the best exhibitions in town. Old Town Square, or Staromestske Namesti, the oldest and historically most significant square in Prague, is, according to many people, one of the most beautiful European squares. Not only was it the venue of numerous dramatic historical events, but it is incredibly beautiful and charming. The Old Town Square is nowadays still Prague's beating heart. Located between Wenceslas Square and Charles Bridge, and covering an area of over 9,000 square meters, the Old Town Square is bordered by many interesting historical buildings and is definitely one of the top must-see places to visit when you travel to the Czech Republic. When you visit here, reserve a lot of time because there is so much to see and do at the square. The Czech Republic's capital is full of amazing sights of great value. But Charles Bridge definitely belongs among the top 5 most amazing ones. Not only is this medieval building one of the most famous bridges in the world, but it is also inseparably connected to the most glamorous era of Prague, and last but not least, it just might be the most beautiful bridge in Europe. And we are not exaggerating at all. Charles Bridge is 516 meters long, 9.5 meters wide, 13 meters high, and stands on 15 pillars. It's also the part of the so-called Royal Road. Charles Bridge is not difficult to find at all. If you approach it from the side of the river, where the Prague Castle is, you can walk to it through Mostek Street, leading from the Malostranské Namesti Square. You can travel there by tram to Malostranské Namesti tram station, or walk from Prague Castle. On the other side, the bridge leads to the Křižovnice Square and then Karlova Street, ending at the Old Town Square. The nearest tram station is Karlovy Les. Spanning the Vltava River with 16 pillars is rich in statues and decorative lamps, and it catches the eye immediately with its beautiful Gothic bridge towers on both ends. You will find 3 tens of magnificent statues on the bridge, mounted in 2 rows. The crowning jewel of Prague Castle is without a doubt St. Vitus Cathedral. You might expect the royal residences would be the most distinguished buildings in the compound, but here the church reigns supreme. Upon entering Prague Castle, you can see the awe-inspiring Gothic towers of St. Vitus poking their heads out, above all the other red roof buildings surrounding it. St. Vitus is one of the best examples of Gothic architecture in Prague, or anywhere in the world for that matter, and should be a must-see site for anyone visiting Prague for the first time. St. Vitus Cathedral is enormous. Exploring it in its entirety might seem daunting to first-time visitors. Spend time studying the details. Don't try to take it all in at once. Take a seat inside when you first walk in, allow yourself to take in the design, the layout, the colors, the sounds, and even the small. Follow along with this little guided tour to find out more of the secrets inside these walls. The tour takes you around the exterior and then inside. The tour starts at the base of the North Tower, following along the north aisles and then around the high altar and Gothic chapels. Then finishing off walking back down the south side aisles towards the South Tower. Upon arriving at the Prague cased gates, you can stop at the ticket booth and buy your ticket. But before you do, know that you do not need to buy a ticket simply to walk around Prague Castle. While you don't need a ticket to explore the exterior of the complex, to go inside the cathedral, royal residence, and exhibitions, you do need to pay. Like many of the world's great churches, construction took ages. It began in 1344, but was not completed until 1929. Even today, the cathedral is steadily being restored to ensure all the work that went into building such a gem isn't lost to time and the pollution of the faithful. Take some time to examine the church's exterior. Spot all the different creatures which hang over the roof. You'll see dragons, scorpions, musicians, and more. At night, these sculptures are all lit up from below, creating a haunting spectacle as their faces seem to move in the light. The Prague Zoo is the best activity for anyone visiting Prague with children. The zoo covers 58 hectares of land and has over 150 different exhibits featuring 4,800 animals and 700 different species, including some 133 endangered species. Prague Zoo is also heavily involved in both breeding and conservation, both in the zoo and projects in the wild. So it does a lot of good. What we especially like about the zoo, it has natural barriers between many of the exhibits and an open concept. In some of the pavilions, you walk into an ecosystem where the animals/birds roam freely, like the Biodome in Montreal. So the zoo, in many places, feels natural and allows for closer contact with the animals. For as long as there has been Prague, there has been Mala Strana. Mala Strana means the little side or lesser town, and it sits across the river from Old Town Prague. This more grown-up part of Prague city center holds many gems. Beautiful churches and romantic streets fill every cranny of this tiny district. It's especially magical on long summer evenings, or in the winter if you're lucky enough to experience Prague in the snow. Tucked into the shadow of Prague Castle, there's a lot to love about Prague Mala Strana. People who aren't afraid of some crowds, but want a more relaxed and mature atmosphere than Old Town Prague or Žižkov district will enjoy Mala Strana. It's great for those who want easy access to Old Town sites, but would rather stay in a Prague neighborhood full of galleries and boutique hotels. Generally speaking, it's more expensive to stay in Mala Strana than other Prague neighborhoods. That eliminates a certain crowd, but it is possible to find a few cheap hostels or hotels if you look hard enough. St. Nicholas Church is the biggest Baroque church in Prague. St. Nicholas has one of the largest ceiling frescoes in Central Europe, depicting the apotheosis of St. Nicholas from 1761, painted by Johann Lucas Cracker. A fresco of the dome and above the organ loft was done by Francis Xaver Palka. He portrayed the heavens and the Holy Father on the first one, and Saint Cecilia on the second. The massive statues of the Easter Church Fathers in the nave of the church were sculpted by I.F. Platzer. The artificial marble pulpit portraying the allegories of faith, hope, and love, as well as an unusual for church's interior scenes, Decapitation of St. John. The Baptist was made by Petr Prackner in around 1765. The entrance to the church costs 100 Czech koruna and also includes a small painting exhibition of Karel Skreda in the upper gallery. Check out the opening hours of St. Nicholas Church on the official website, as it often has masses and concerts, for which it closes. The price for concerts is usually around 490 Czech koruna. The St. Nicholas Tower is not included in the entrance fee and costs 100 Czech koruna to climb. It has multiple small exhibits inside, so you're entertained while going up for 79 meters. Petrin Hill is one of Prague's top attractions. Towering 130 meters above Vltava River, is hard to miss. And you know what? We do not see a single reason why you would want to miss it out when you arrive in beautiful city, which is also the capital of the Czech Republic. Petrin Hill is conveniently located close to the river, Prague Castle, and many restaurants and cafes. And most importantly, it provides its visitors with amazing views of Prague. That's why this place is so popular among both international travelers and locals, who often walk their dogs here, leisurely stroll around the park, have a picnic in the summer, and those bravest even run to the top. It is easy to recognize Petrin Hill, even if you have never been to Prague before, because on its top stands a structure noticeably reminding Paris' famous Eiffel Tower. There is one very confusing thing about the National Theatre for Prague visitors. After buying a ticket on the official website of the National Theatre, you can end up in a completely different building than you've expected. Pay attention to the names of buildings below the name of the performance. You can end up in the National Theatre, the New Stage, the Estates Theatre, State Opera, Carlin Musical Theatre. Theaters where performances take place will change based on the season and current reconstructions. If you specifically want to see an opera or a ballet, because you want to experience the beautifully decorated spaces of the National Theatre or the Estates Theatre, we strongly recommend checking out the location of the event before buying the tickets. Not knowing that performance locations change could be a big letdown. The KGB Museum in Prague, Czech Republic, offers an incredible glimpse into the history of the Soviet Union's notorious secret police. Visitors can explore a range of artifacts used by various branches of the KGB, including spy cameras, radios, and instruments of torture. While it is not for everyone, the museum provides a unique opportunity to learn about the tactics and power wielded by this intelligence agency during its time in control. The museum is a treasure trove of Soviet-era knowledge. Its dimly lit corridors give way to many fascinating exhibits on the work of the KGB, including equipment used for covert surveillance and interrogation. From hidden camera detectors to devices employed in psychological warfare, these artifacts offer an illuminating look at the tactics employed by this secretive intelligence agency. Even tourists who are not particularly knowledgeable about the history of the USSR will find the displays captivating and educational, as audio-visual aids provide an in-depth exploration of these practices during the communist era. Vysehrad is one of the original towns of Prague. During the second half of the 11th century and the first half of the 12th century, the city castle was occupied by the Přemyslid princes. Its name in English means castle on the heights. During the second half of the 11th century and the first half of the 12th century, the fort was occupied by the Přemyslids dynasty, and it was remodeled as a castle and church. According to local legends, Princess Libusa married a plowman, and they both founded the Přemyslids dynasty and the city of Prague in Vysehrad. However, research shows that the Prague castle was built before Vysehrad. This part of Prague is the least visited by tourists, since most travel guides don't even mention it. Nevertheless, we believe Vysehrad to be an interesting and beautiful historic site. Vysehrad was founded by Czech dukes to guard the trade route along the Vltava. A little way along the riverside from the iconic Charles Bridge, and many streets away from the iconic Astronomical Clock, the Prague Dancing House, formerly known as the Nationale Nederlanden building, is easily one of the most photogenic sights the capital city of the Czech Republic has to offer. And in a city best known for its neo-baroque, neo-Gothic, Gothic, and Art Nouveau architecture, the modern masterpiece is certainly a break from the norm. Here's everything you ever wanted to know about the Dancing House of Prague, known locally as Tansisi Dom, as well as how to visit and stay, and a quick history. Originally called Fred and Ginger, thanks to the famous Hollywood film dancing duo, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers of the 1930s, the name was soon dropped as co-architect Gary didn't want to bring American Hollywood kitsch into Prague. Founded in 1143, Strahov Monastery is still inhabited by about 70 monks from the Premonstratensian order. It offers numerous attractions, which is why it is considered one of the most popular sites in Prague. Strahov Monastery is the seat of the Premonstratensian order, founded in 1143 Prague by Bohemian Duke Vladislav and Bishop of Olomouc, Jindoj Sidek. The name Strahov derived from the word guarding in Czech, as this monastery was the last western defense point in Prague. It is standing close to Prague Castle, but the monastery was never included in its defense system or fell under Hradčany district's jurisdiction. In 1648, the Swedish army sieged Prague Castle, and Strahov Monastery was again damaged. Many precious volumes and scripts from the famous Strahov Library were taken as a bounty to Sweden, where they are displayed in museums, palaces, and libraries. Strahov Library does not allow its visitors to go inside. That means you can only see the library halls from the corridors. The Strahov Library access was limited due to humidity that affects frescoes and book bindings. Prague's stunning Strahov Monastery Library is one of the biggest and the most beautiful libraries in the Czech Republic. The library's collection is comprised of over 60,000 volumes and is spread over 2 halls, theological and philosophical. Monks of Strahov Monastery have a long tradition of beer brewing, 600 years. Strahov Brewery, as we know it today, was built in the 18th century by Abbot Kaspar Questenberg and later reconstructed after the 30 Years' War. The brewery makes more than 25 kinds of beer. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share our videos. Your assistance will enable us to produce additional informative guides.